When you're talking with yourself, do you ever stop and wonder, have I gone crazy? Because how can you know if you're talking to your inner child or an authentic shadow subpersonality, or actually if you ventured a little bit too far into your unconscious mind and you're in unsteady psychological territory, which is an especially important question if you're someone who also has a history of dissociation or otherwise feeling a little bit unsteady in your ego identity. I've got 3 excellent psychological books for you to read in your own time as a foundation, and a 3-part discussion in this video to hopefully give you the tools and perspectives that you need to stay safe in your unconscious and be able to do your inner work process without going into destabilized or otherwise straight up delusional territory. I'll start with the books, and they're very much books I've covered repeatedly on this channel, so I'm not going to go into them in detail. If it's your first time seeing me, then maybe the first time seeing the books. I want you to pick up a copy of Inner Work by Robert Johnson, a Jungian take on active imagination, which frames out the process of doing parts work and actively going into your unconscious mind. I want you to pick up Embracing Ourselves by Hal and Sidra Stone, which is a method called voice dialogue. It's similar to active imagination. It's basically a practical guide to having conversations with creatures, entities, shadow subpersonalities like your inner child or various archetypal figures. And finally, on the topic of the inner child, my favorite inner child book that everyone should read, Healing the Child Within by Charles Whitfield, so that you can indeed contact your little toddler inside of your chest. These are 3 foundational books that I'm not going to cover in detail in this video, but I do want you to order in your own time. Please just stop the video, go into your favorite secondhand bookseller and buy these books. They're going to do way more than you can possibly get from a video. Having said all that, 3-part discussion for this video, how to stay safe in your unconscious mind. There are 2 things that I want you to restrict, and 1 thing that I want you to strengthen or expand, very much within your control. Super straightforward. These are the principles that keep me safe when I'm going deeper into my own unconscious territory and stop me from getting either possessed by an archetypal entity or otherwise destabilized in my adult identity and regressing into infantile consciousness or getting inflated and grandiose. These are the principles that I really apply. Number 1, restriction. 2 restrictions, actually. I'll start with the first restriction, though. You need to restrict your fascination, which might sound bizarre, because here you are on the healing journey. You've gotten excited about the idea of healing your inner child. You've seen videos on the internet. You've maybe even read a book like Healing the Child Within by Charles Whitfield, which I recommend you get a copy of. And you see people talking about the inner child being a powerful source of healing energy. You start to get excited about the idea of going back into the past. You've got the courage, you've got the strength, you're going to look at the old wounds, you're going to get out the bandage, you're going to wrap them up, and you're going to put your inner child on your shoulders and jog off into the sunset. It's very exciting, it's fascinating, it's wonderful. I understand the feeling, I've likewise experienced it myself. But if you've got fascination, you're likely to put yourself in a bit of an unsteady footing from the very beginning, because fascination isn't grounded. At least in most cases, you can have grounded fascination, but in 99% of situations where someone is enamored or otherwise artificially, inflatedly in love with the idea of the fantasy of the inner child, again, this fantasy of, if I heal my inner child, then I'll heal all of the anxiety and depression in there every day. If I contact my inner children, my toddler, my prepubescent, my inner teenager, I'm going to feel integrated and whole. It's very exciting. It's wonderful. I don't want you to lose the enthusiasm, but watch out for the exuberance. Don't let the enthusiastic, patient exploration of your own unconscious mind become something which you're stumbling towards in an ungrounded and overly charged way. Some things to watch out for is when you start to spend a little bit too much time, and this is the second restriction point, a little bit too much time in your active imagination or voice dialogue practice. You need to also restrict the time, restrict the amount of contact that you have with your inner children or your shadow subpersonalities. These 2 points woven together. I was going to separate them out into more of a clean kind of segment for the video, but they come so naturally. You take down the charge and you restrict the period of contact. It's neither too inflated and too fascinating, nor an everyday occurrence. I know it can be addictive. You're reading the books like Healing the Child Within, but also especially when you go into Inner Work by Robert Johnson or Embracing Ourselves by Hal and Sidra Stone. Hopefully you see what I'm doing here. Repetition to encourage you to read the books in your own time. It is absolutely addictive when you get those first breakthroughs of starting to realize that you've got deep wisdom and deep potential somewhere buried inside of your own unconscious. And you might start doing something like a dream journal, a daily active imagination practice, or even checking in with your inner parts multiple times throughout the day. And this is wonderful for a season, but if you've got a history of dissociation or otherwise feeling like you're a hyper-imaginative individual and you don't necessarily have your grounding in everyday reality, just be careful of how much time you're spending in imaginal fantasy space. Fantasy doesn't mean complete unreality. If we think of something that's dreadful, we feel the real emotions. And likewise, if we think of something beautiful, we'll feel the corresponding positive emotions. You will affect your inner state and your physiology by the way that you use your imagination. My invitation for staying safe in your unconscious mind, based on my personal work, based on years of helping clients in private sessions week after week, is to not do it too often. There's a reason that I only have one session per week with my mentorship clients, my mentees, I suppose you could call them. It's because you don't need to go that deep that often. Once per week, a real journey once per week, a real conversation once per week, and maybe a practice between sessions. That's enough. I've made the unfortunate mistake in the past of having multiple sessions per week and encouraging people to sit down with their parts on a multi-week basis or even on a multi-day basis because they expressed that initial enthusiasm. They said to me, "Hey Jordan, I've just contacted my inner 7-year-old and I realize this issue with my parents' divorce or my family member death or whatever the addiction issue might have been with mother or father, it's all tied around this inner 7-year-old and so much wisdom, and they feel so abandoned." Especially if you get a vision like this, you get a vision of your inner 7-year-old crying, crumpled and feeling hopeless somewhere in the home, somewhere out in the woods in an imaginal realm of danger and despair. You naturally want to care for that part of you. You want to go and check in on them if you've got healthy mother or healthy father energy. You want to look after your own psychic fragmented entities and bring them into more of an integrated state. This is the whole purpose of imaginal inner work. But the way to do it isn't to be smothering, because if you're chasing and you're breaking your everyday reality, you're losing your routine, you're losing your structures, and you're going into destabilized imaginal space with a destabilized energy, you're more likely to increase dissociation rather than increase the feeling of everyday, grounded, experiential embodiment. You want to be charged by your imagination, not carried away by your imagination. So you need to firstly restrict the charge, lower the valence, lower that fascination, and you also want to restrict the time spent in imaginal states. As a general guideline, something you can take from this video, I recommend no more than 1 hour per week, but stretch out the timeline for a full 3-month commitment. If you're going to seriously work with your inner child, 1 hour per week, one meditative practice of half an hour, followed by half an hour of journaling or going for a walk in the forest, or a somatic movement practice if you want to do more of an advanced level active imaginational process. I'm not going to cover that just yet. 1 hour per week for 3 months is much better than repeatedly going back in with your inner child and losing your seat of adult identity, because the third aspect of this conversation, the one aspect that I want you to strengthen to stay safe in your unconscious mind, is to strengthen your adult ego identity. Don't lose your everyday footing. Show up for work. Show up for the people who are counting on you. Look after your body. Restrict the damage that you're doing to yourself in an everyday basis, but fundamentally, just have a normal identity. Still consider yourself. In my case, I am still Jordan. I am a teacher, I'm a therapeutic figure, I work as a coach, I'm trying to be some kind of mental health educator, whatever the label might be, I am this. And yes, I am also my inner children, my shadow subpersonalities, the various masculine and feminine archetypes, proportionally, to a degree, based on a certain moment which isn't my entire identity. I can subjectively and compartmentalizably identify with a part which I'm contacting without losing my seat of adult ego authority. This is where people really put themselves in quite destabilized territory, and especially if you do have a history of dissociation, maybe more of a clinical diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't speak too much on the more extreme cases where there's really a struggling with a main ego structure. To my understanding, based on my research, this is usually due to a childhood situation where there was an unsafe environment and not enough witnessing. There wasn't enough healthy attachment between mother, father, and the child. Therefore, the child didn't form their healthy enough, robust enough, consistent enough, permanent enough ego structure, and then it haunts them in adult life. It can be repaired. But even if you're not struggling with high-level dissociation and you're just feeling a bit shaky, you're feeling a little bit fuzzy in your identity, don't go too deep into your parts work, please. I love depth psychology. I love going into the fascinating, visionary realms of archetypal potential, but I don't do it too often. I don't make it mean too much, and I fundamentally focus on who I am in this moment, in this day, with my roles and responsibilities, so that I can dip my toe or go for a brief swim in the archetypal realms and the shadow river through my own unconscious furrows between my hemispheres, whatever the metaphor might be. I don't live there. I don't live there. The idea of the three-stage model of the unconscious mind, according to psychosynthesis, is you have a higher unconscious, a middle unconscious, and a lower unconscious. In fact, I'm going to see if the book is immediately accessible over here. If it's not, then I am. Yes, it is. Just over here, I'm currently planning out my 104-book curriculum for my course I'm going to be working on throughout the year, so thankfully it's in the right space. If I can bring up the diagram of the higher, middle, and lower unconscious, it will really express things. There we go. We got it in Psychosynthesis by John Furman and Angilla. You can pick up a copy of this for yourself. This is quite good theory, but fundamentally, it's this egg. You've seen me talk about it before. This egg diagram right here. You've got multiple stages of the unconscious mind, and I want you to be aware that even if you do go up all the way to the heights and all the way down to the depths, fundamentally, you are going to be working in the middle unconscious, because something which is truly unconscious cannot be accessed, and that's where you're really pushing the bounds. Don't go outside of the middle bandwidth, and that's going to be inner child work based on your personal history, or archetypal work based on having read about some of the archetypes or being particularly resonant with a certain mythology. Stay in that band and expand it over time, but fundamentally, key point, look right at the middle. Don't know if you can see it on this diagram. There is an I. Focus on the I. The middle point, you. Who are you? What is identity? It's a 3-hour conversation, if not an entire lifetime worth of discussing the nature of the ego and the self. Conversationally speaking, it's your name, with your job, with your relationships, on this day, the age that you are, this exact moment. Don't lose sight of the immediate moment because of the fascination of what's happened in the past or the archetypal golden shadow possibilities of the future. Restrict the charge that you're going into. Restrict the time that you're spending in active imagination or shadow work, and strengthen your ego, identity. These 3 philosophies will keep you safe. By and large, again, it's a general principle, but they will keep you safe. Just take it slow. It can be destabilizing. I think there's a lot of fascination on the internet because it's very clickbaity, and it's easy for me to weave a narrative of fascination around archetypal work, and you see all of these wonderful stories and testimonies of people contacting their queen or their king or their maiden or their magician, or they go into their inner child, and it's all very wonderful. Just hold it at a distance, keep your feet on the earth, and I hope this video has been useful for you. You can leave any comments down in the comments section if you want more of a sophisticated, narrowed-in expansion on anything that I've spoken about here. Otherwise, you know what's coming next. It's another video. Making 500 of these, and it's a wonderful journey. There's the next one.